All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is King of Cards, Tarot Readings, coming to you with a general collective message. So, basically, the way this works, so people will say, if you're seeing this reading, it's meant for you. And I want to kind of explain the side of that general statement that I tap into because I think the general statement loses the depth of meaning. Like, let me use a. I don't like to divide people, okay? So I'm actually going to leave that example just in case there's anybody watching who. Because I don't mind offending when the offense is coming from my personal cosmology, but if I'm trying to be more understanding, but basically what I'm saying is because I'm now doing tarot readings, it is within my frame to comment on my specific beliefs and relationship to tarot. So, like, if I were to ask you if you believe in trees, that's one question. Now, if I ask you where do you believe trees come from, that would be a different question. And both of those questions confuse the machinery. And so most people will do what I'm going to call now, they will execute a bypass. They'll go around the question. They'll sort of ask a question that doesn't require them to ask that question. Or they'll say things like, what would they say? I'm thinking, of course, for the first question, but for the second question, that doesn't quite apply. Second tier people will jump to something like examine the question itself. Like, what do you mean by that? Not seeing how they may not be bypassing, but is in a sense they're standing at the gate. You know. But the level I'm trying to go to, the third or whatever, doesn't matter. There's lots of levels in between and beyond. But the level I'm looking at is in asking the question, if you think about giving a good answer to the question, in the process of thinking about what a good answer could be, not necessarily what is the right answer, because that is itself asking another question first, which says, is there a right answer? But if you can just think about what a good answer could be, that thinking process, I believe, is instrumental in developing a sensory that most people don't communicate with. They may experience it, but they don't use it as a form of communication. And, there's probably lots of personal reasons why I engage in this kind of communication, but it's frustrating for a lot of people, and I get that. Because, like, for most people, asking a question isn't this same thing that I'm doing, right? Because there's some answer they're looking for. So they'll say, what time is it? Or what time is the train coming? Or when's the next train? Or where's this train going to? The question exists within some framework. What's your cat's name? You know? But where a lot of people don't then go is why why does the train come at 9:18 instead of 9:24? Like why this train now? And that's still fairly concrete compared to, do you believe in trees? It jumps to a level, and you could supplant, do you believe in trains, if you're at the train station or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you can take this. But so, what I'm really trying to get at with this whole preamble is, like, the question would be, do you believe in tarot cards? Right? And so, in the way that I believe in trees and in trains, I most certainly believe in tarot cards. Okay? So that's one side of what I'm trying to bring forward with King of Cards. Then the next level of that is, so the normal questions people ask, there's also a normal mathematics that people engage in, even people who tell you they don't like math, right? So you go up to someone who doesn't like math, right? And you ask them, hey, do you have any cash on you? Right? Do you have any cash on you? That's a math that is now going to be engaged in, right? Sort of. Let's see how it happens. Play it out sometime. Maybe they don't want to tell you. I'm not willing to disclose that. But in their mind, they're now reckoning with the way or lack thereof. So if they don't have any cash, so the simple answer is a binary, zero, non-zero. There's not going to be negative numbers in this exchange, right? But do you have any cash on you? Instantly triggers this measurement, this mathematical endeavor of zero, not zero, right? So the way most normal people would play this out, be like, hey, do you have any cash on you, right? And so the next person would say, like, yeah, right? Not disclosing the full amount or anything like that, but just like, yeah. And then this first asker, to be normal, they have to ask a question where there's a specific answer they're looking for. And so, strangely, the question of how much is a bit unkind or unacceptable depending on the relationship. Some people would get questioned, most people would say, "Why do you want to know?" They do the double back questioning, right? But if you said, um, "Can you spot me for the vending machine? It only takes cash." Then they would either say, "Yeah, how much do you need?" or "Yeah, what do you want?" and then go buy it for you or whatever. There's a lot of different ways this can play out. But I'm sorry I drift so far, and this is where I know I lose people because they forget, or I don't do a good enough job of anchoring the first idea unless I'm given time to wrap it back up. So in most conversation, I lose people here at this point where in an extended talk like this, I'm able to I go, okay, here's where I normally lose people. Let me open up, punctuate with the idea of losing people. So, in case you're listening, you can be like, oh, yeah, I started to drift a little bit ago. And I can pull you back by explaining that, like, I know you started to drift because I can see in my conversation what I'm doing and how I do it and why it's different than what other people do. So, this mathematics that we engage in conversationally, even especially people who don't like math or use math, it's nested inside of our language. And so, then, like, another one would be, oh, how long does it take to get there? Right? A measurement goes on. Maybe you say something like, it's like a 15-minute walk. Or you could say, uh, with a car, it's no time at all. Like, oh, it's so close. Even those kinds of estimations are, they're mathematical in nature. And so those are the normal questions. That's the normal math. But then my style of do you believe in trees type math would come down to sort of the statistics and probability aspect when it comes to readings. Like, I think there is a deep truth and deep reality to any divination format when you allow for statistical and probabilistic frameworks to inform what's going on. Um, yeah. And then when it comes to number theory, set theory, um, and I guess a little bit of like matrix math, linear algebra type stuff, there's a little bit of that comes in here when you talk about like the geometry of spreads, like how you lay out the cards. But yeah, I think that reading from any deck, like I've been noticing a lot of readers on YouTube lately doing these note card readings where they write phrases out or concepts or whatever, and they just draw from those collective readings. And I'm super into that. I think that's cool. Um, yeah, actually, I've been looking into something I'm going to maybe start to include. But it's a derivation and a deviation. So I'm either not going to start it right away or I'm going to do separate videos. That's probably what I'll do. I'll do separate videos from the general collective. Like you notice if you've been watching this channel, this is from a series titled The Date General Collective Reading. and then the title of the reading, which I title the readings after I record them. I try to find a good phrase that explains what's going on here. And so I've almost reached a level here where I need to call this Induction 3. Um, and I just might do that. Um, but I might not. I might not, and Induction 3 may come later to initiate or usher in an even deeper relationship to the format I'm trying to present and the focus of this meander, my intentions as a reader. That's what I'm trying to bring you to before I actually approach the flash reading and then the full reading. And again, I know that you're still looking at the title card with whatever the title is, which may be Induction 3, and then a secondary title for the reading itself. Um, but it might not. This might just have the name of the reading. We'll see. But I know you're looking at the title card, so you can't see the spread. I can see the spread. So you're still in the energy of what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like questions of trees, everyday mathematics. Do you believe in tarot? Um, do you believe in tarot cards? Do you believe in tarot readings? Do you believe in trains? So, again, the reason I read from Aleister Crowley's Thoth deck and I don't really make a correspondence between these cards and other cards is because I want to work within the limitations of the way I'm reading the cards, which, as I've said to people before, isn't symbolic. And so I try not too much to draw my reading from the imagery of the cards. Like, I'm not trying to look at the pictures and draw ideas from that. I'm trying to use my knowledge of the placement of each individual card within its subset of the larger set of 78 cards. So, yeah, and I try to take into account the elemental interplay. So, don't know if y'all are familiar with Magic the Gathering. I'm not super informed, but in that game, cards are played that have very specific interactions and elemental attributes are taken into account. Now, I am not using general collective readings. Test, test. Okay. I'm not using general collective readings in the same format as a Magic the Gathering game is being used. But the point is that when you work within the framework of the cards, in intricacies and emergent phenomena can come out. So, but with symbolic reading, like I I enjoy making non-representational art and people see things in the art all the time. And when they tell me what they see, I can often see it too. But one of my favorite things to do is to like choose an image I want to see in the art and then search for it multiple places within the art. like, let me find a turtle in this ink blot ash smudge on paper, and you'll start finding turtles. It's really wonderful the way pareidolia can be used intentionally. Um, but also, I think that we do that a lot in life where we draw meaning out of chaos because we're looking for certain things and we're willing to obscure the aspects that don't lend to the manifestation of that image we're searching for, and we're able to overlay and infer things that aren't necessarily present. So, yeah, this is probably going to be induction 3 because I've hit 20 minutes now talking about my format and I haven't even gotten to the spread yet. So, yeah, thanks for sitting through induction 3. Um, it's important to me that when a reading, because again, you haven't seen the cards yet, but this is I'm speaking this way really because of the formation of the cards, and as I turn on the recorder and I start to get into the spread, it becomes apparent to me that I need to let you know that I'm not approaching this exactly the same way other people are, but there's overlap, and I support the things they're doing with their readings that I'm not doing here. And I want you to know what you're getting here that you are not getting other places. King of Cards tarot readings. So, yeah, I'm not any master of any tradition, but I've been using these cards for a while, and, you know, I find, especially, well, not even especially for collective, I think even in private readings, one on one, solo, I'm able to, I'm not making predictions. That's the thing. Like, I'm not trying to say, like, oh, specifically this is going on for you. I'm trying to say, like, from the overall availabilities, because this is showing up for me, I'm feeling that we're looking at a situation where these energies are coming together, and that is then for the querent to not ascribe value to my noticings. It's for them to, like with the question, do you believe in trees? They are now thinking about the energies I am putting into the space between their question and their own discovery. So, yeah, I like this dynamic a lot. I think it works very well. It's hard for me to read myself, I'll be honest. I am too stuck in my own paradigm to see beyond what I already see when reading myself. But when I read for others, because I don't know what's going on in their world, like I can give an example from my life and what I know, but they will see from my examining, they'll see in their mind the thing in their own life that I don't know about, that these energies are illuminating. Now, there's other things going on in their life that these energies aren't illuminating. And the point is, we're not trying to show you your whole life. We're trying to give you a doorway into a space that you are trying to explore. When you go to the coffee shop and you order a drink, you're using that to try and explore a space that you want to understand. And you're ruminating on things. You're thinking thoughts in your head you don't say out loud. And you have conversations with people where you then say those things in similar or different words. And this, a tarot reading, is a way to do that same thing and allow you, the reader, I mean, the viewer, to reflect on dynamics that are coming up for all of us as we engage with the reading. And those dynamics are coming up because the spread is there, the cards are there. And that's why I say these readings are timeless, but yet they're time stamped so that you know when they happened or the energy that you're accessing. It's like reading an old book or playing a song recorded 10 years ago. Like, the song is playing now. You're listening to it, even though it was recorded back then. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to use these readings to create a lineage of samplings that this collective, meaning those who engage with this material, a chance to vibe together off of a vibe that I'm curating and bringing forward. King of Cards tarot readings. So I limit it to the Thoth deck for the general collective readings because I want to keep it simple so that the complexities are meaningful and less arbitrary. Uh, yeah. So, for my flash reading, this is good. Like, y'all know what I like to do. I try to see the good. I try to see things as good, and I try to make things better. So, we had some tough readings the past few days, and honestly, this is possibly the best reading I've seen so far, especially when informed by what's come before. So, what I'm feeling is that, like, you are coming into your power, which may feel frustrating because it feels late. It feels like it should have happened already. But what I'm feeling from this is that it has happened already, but you didn't come into it yet. Like, you remained in a beginner's mind, although you had reached a level of mastery. Like, you graduated and then you went back to the 101 course and like you took the whole course over again. So, yeah, you're coming into your power even though you've been in it for a while. And the goal is in sight, although, like, it's like only certain actions move you towards the goal, and that's the frustration because it's like you can't only do those actions. You have to do other things, but you also want to do as many of those actions as you can to get to the goal, like as quickly as you can, or at the right time, or at all. But in a lot of ways, none of the actions that take you there are even actions in the typical sense. And a lot of those actions are similar to what we saw in the Empress, and we saw, I think it was with Strife yesterday. It's like these actions of maintaining balance are the actions that move you towards your goal. And that's why I say you've been in your power, even though you haven't claimed it or risen into it. Because it's really all those little things that you've been doing that add up to this foundation of power that you are ready to step into and are not yet being given the opportunity for, but you're being prepared for the opportunity to be presented. So, 20 minutes of induction, actually, it's 28 minutes, right? And then 4 minutes of flash reading. I'm telling you, this reading is really good and it bodes well for the future. So, for our main issue, we have Two of Wands in reverse. This is called Dominion. I like this card a lot. Um, I feel like I've said before that this card is about the scope or the reach of an activity. So, mm, what's the right thing? Like a drill bit, it will it will remove any material softer than it within its radius diameter, but outside of that it will not do anything, right? So Dominion is about knowing where action matters and putting action where it matters, bringing together what can be done and what is wanted to be done. This is in reverse, so I'm getting that like the capacity is there, but it's not recognized yet how much work can be done. It could be that there's a desire to do more work than can be done too, but I think it's more that it isn't realized how much work can be done. So it's not so much negative in the aspirational sense of wanting to do more. It's negative in the comprehensive sense of not knowing how much can be done. So, to some degree, that could mean doing more work than is needed, which could be causing issues, or it could mean that more work could be done if it was realized how much work it could do. Um, yeah, I'm also getting like, yeah, it's like the the place the work is being done and can be done is limiting the places you do work because you're only working within the place that you can do work. And so there's like a jump that's required or a shift that would be required in order to do different work than what you're doing. So that could resonate for some spaces of like, don't do the work you can do. Do some, either neglect it and leave it undone, or do something that isn't what you can do. And for some of you, it's saying the opposite, saying you're not doing the work you can do. Yeah, so both of these, we'll read further and see what we can see. So for the right hand opposal, we have Knight of Wands in reverse. Knight of Wands we've seen before. He's the fiery aspect of fire, so the action of action. I often talk about dancing, or if you ever noticed kids pick up a branch and hit a tree with the branch, try and break the branch on the tree. It's just like that act of acting for the action. Um, yeah, so in reverse, I'm getting like, don't act just to act. Like, find r- reasons to act, or don't act until reason appears. Yeah, so linked to this dominion, it's like, it's not the time for action per se, but you should know what action you can take. So it's like, now is a time for like kind of planning, kind of strategizing, but more measuring out your your means of acting. Okay, then for our left hand opposal, we have the Fool, who for me represents a beginner's mind, but also like an enthusiastic seeker, because the Fool isn't walking away from their goal. They're Everything they're doing is to try and bring them towards their goal. Um, yeah. So the Fool, let's see here, is reminding me. Yeah, it's like you're in such a seeking mind that you still feel like you haven't begun your journey yet. You don't see how much you have accomplished and how much of the kingdom belongs to you because you still feel like you're starting fresh from scratch all over again. But then also, I'm getting that this card is in the past and it represents the whole foundation you stand on. And yeah, maybe Dominion is in reverse because you don't know how much more you still can learn. You know you could learn more. You know you could expand your reach. So you don't you don't want to limit yourself to what you have already done. Like you don't want to do that adult thing of like this is what I am and here's who I'm going to be. You want to say like anything's possible. At any time transformation could occur. New insights could come forward. Um yeah, but in this current moment that is pulling away from your ability to act intentionally because you're like waiting for things to change, although the things might not actually change and you could have just acted instead of waiting for the unexpected. Yeah, it's like you're because you've never achieved this goal, you don't think what you're doing is working, and so you want to either change what you're doing or wait for conditions to change to be favorable for what you are doing. It's like you have an umbrella, so you're waiting for it to rain, so that like when it rains, this umbrella is going to come in handy. But as of right now, you don't need it, but you do have it. So what do you do about that? Do you get rid of the umbrella because you don't need it now? Or do you carry it so that when you need it, you have it? Um, and I guess that's where, again, this dominion in reverse is saying, well, find out to a degree, like, do you need it? Do you not need it? And more so make the choice of would you rather have it and not need it or need it and not have it, you know? So for our deck top card, we have the card I've been waiting for. It's her first time showing up in these readings, and I'd said I'd hope to see her in the main issue or the deck top card, and I think seeing her up there is saying a lot about what the horizontal axis means. So the star is the shining light, the carrot on the end of the stick. It's not something you attain, it's something you aspire to. And it's something you both aspire to hold and have and obtain, as it is something you aspire to become, grow into, and attain. And that's why it it falls back eternally because it's the meeting point of having and becoming. And so because of that, it's two separate things as one thing. And because they can never become one thing, there's a triangle. So there's what we have, all the things that we can obtain separate from ourselves. Anything, jewelry, food, objects. Um, these are all things you can have, but the things you become, you can't have them, you can't hold them. So, like, let's say a famous actor wins an award. I don't know much about actors or awards, but, you know, Angelica Houston wins, what is it, the Grammy, the Emmy, Oscar. She wins the Oscar. And so she has attained that. That's her now. But the object of the Oscar, like I could steal that from her and now, or buy it, I could purchase it, make an offer, or she could lose it, or she could give it to me. And so I could obtain the award that she attained, but I would never become her having won that award. But so the star here, it's something we reach out to and move towards, and it's something that we turn into as we progress. Um, and that's why what I'm saying here, this is really good. So you you have successfully moved through the beginner's mind through levels of mastery. Like through the beginner's mind in the sense of with, as, inside of, and by means of the beginner's mind, you have developed multiple levels of understanding of different realities, and yet you have retained that beginner's mind. You haven't said, "Oh, I'm the master of geometry," but if someone has a question of geometry, you could answer almost any question someone would ask of geometry, you know? So that's the thing. You you have attained levels of height, um, but you don't realize how much you know. You don't realize that you're a geometry wizard. And if you knew what you could do with that geometry, like you could probably go consult warehouses and help them use their space more efficiently by measuring the shapes and angles of the different types of options or objects that they have. Something like that. You have something that if you applied it the right way or marketed it the right way, you could revolutionize so many different realities. But then this Knight of Wands is telling me, like, you've been doing it for the love of it, that practice aesthetic. You just love measuring angles, you just love proving theorems. But now, what is being asked or offered as means of attaining and obtaining in pursuit of the star, it's like actions need to be taken out of, I want to say, intentional directive, but the card isn't specifically saying that. It's more saying like action for action's sake is no longer that. Like it's even if you're just going out and practicing, somehow that is manifesting more. Like you're going out just to shoot hoops, but in just doing that, more is coming out of it. So it's not it's like you can't avoid what you've become. It it's dripping off of you. You're dripping with its juices. Just like what you are is unhideable. So you have to a degree become the star to other people. So like Angelica Houston is probably still in this beginner's mind if she's I don't know. In this example, you're Angelica Houston and you're still humble about your acting skills. You say, I still have so much to learn. And yet, people are following in your footsteps, wishing they could be on your level. So, yeah, what I'm seeing here is that you have attained levels of mastery that the world can see, and you don't know how much work you are doing or can do because you're still in a beginner's mind, and your actions are no longer simply actions for action's sake. They have an effect on the world around them. It's something like that. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there because we're almost at an hour. I've never done a video this long before, I don't think. Even Induction 2 probably wasn't quite this long. Maybe. I'll go look. But yeah, so I'm gonna call this Induction 3, and then we're gonna pull out a title from the reading. But just thank you, everybody. If you've listened to this, you are part of this collective, and you're probably starting to understand what interacting with this material is doing for you and what I want for you, which is good and the good and to be good and to let you find your leverage in the world. So I've said it before and I will say it again. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you will be alerted when new messages drop. This has been King of Cards Tarot Readings. Stay safe out there. And until next time, I'll see you real soon.